Good morning, everybody. How's it going?
Doing well, thank you, Ian. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. Alrighty. As a reminder, if you want to sort of pitch your project anonymously, just send that over to Alex or myself. There was one person that wanted to pitch anonymously. I'm trying to remember who it was now. It's here somewhere. Cool. Ooh, all right. Say who it was. Maybe you'll remember. No, that's not how it works. It's not how anonymous works. Good try though. All right. I've got a shared Google Doc that we are going to put in your code help channel. And this is basically where I'm going to be like writing out a bunch of notes. While I'm writing out a bunch of notes, Alex is going to be working on a Google form. So give you a little bit of backstory on this, and I'll try not to be too repetitive as other people trickle in. But basically, the idea behind a consultancy project was we got feedback from students over time saying like, hey, we get into this job, it's this massive code base, all these different pieces, like talking to each other. We don't know what to do. Like we kind of feel like we're thrown in the deep end of the pool with an anchor, tied around our leg kind of thing. What do we do? And so I designed this project to be a small scale, large project that's going to have multiple pieces to be built. And originally, when I came up with the idea of this, it was the theme of like, hey, Jeff is like a customer looking for a consultancy group to work with, and so we're going to have all these little consultancy companies. We're going to compete against each other. We decided to kind of take away the idea of like, oh, we're like competing against each other. But Jeff still likes to attend the demo that we do before Code Fair. And so Jeff likes to sort of see the kinds of projects that you're building. He likes to ask tough questions. And so I think he's going to be at our little internal demo next Friday. So a couple of things, sorry, not next Friday, the following Friday, week 5. So a couple of things to take into consideration here. This is a much larger scope project, and so the teams are going to be bigger. In the past, we've had teams as big as like 12, 13, 14 people, and that was chaotic and awesome at the same time. We decided to kind of scale it back after that, and we've over the last couple of innings, we've had teams more like 7, 8 people, which is what we're going to aim for here. So we're hoping to get 4 project ideas out of this morning, at least, so that we can kind of vote on those and so on. The idea with this project is you're going to be building a Rails application, which is your front end, a Rails application, which is your back end, and then a microservice, which is going to be a microservice, which is going to then go talk to your external API of some kind. Now, if you want to talk to more than one external API, you're going to build more than one microservice. So keep those in mind. So I've got a Google Doc. I'm going to be tracking like all the sort of project ideas that you're coming up with. While I'm doing that, Alex is going to be building out a Google form with all the names of the projects. While we're still on the call, like once everybody's finished pitching these project ideas, we're going to have you vote on what are the top like 5 or 6 projects. And then we're going to go like take a look at kind of how everybody voted. And then around lunchtime, we're going to drop another survey asking, what are your top choices? Like if you had to pick your top 3 project ideas, what are those top 3 projects? If you don't vote, we're going to put you on a project team. We would much prefer to put you on a project team where you have some say of like, I really want to work on this particular project. We will do our very best to give you your first or second choice. It's not always possible. Sometimes we have to give you your third choice, but you're going to have up to 6 projects to pick from. And so we want to hear your top 3. And so while we're kind of working through this morning, I'll be writing out notes. It's a shared Google Doc, so you'll all be able to refer back to it for this first round of voting. And again, this first round of voting is just to figure out like what are our top projects for the entire class. And then from there, you're going to vote on what are your top 3. Okay. So when so we're going to do the first round at the end of this class, and then you can go back to working on your project. When we drop that other survey, we need you to like go back, reread the pitch document, and it'll be linked in the survey. But we need you to fill that one out right away because we're going to be forming the teams this afternoon. We're not going to tell you the team until Monday. So that means you don't have any project work this weekend. So that means you can get caught up on other things like sleep and groceries and, you know, all that good stuff. And so we're going to kick off the project on Monday. But over the weekend, if you have some time, because you won't know which team you're on, you will know the top projects. We do recommend if you could still go take a look at a couple of API ideas for each of the projects so that when you get back on Monday and we tell you which team you're on, you'll have some ideas of like, oh, that project, cool. I looked at these APIs. Now, if you pitch a project, you don't have to vote for your own project. You don't even have to say, I want to work on that project. This can just be, hey, I got a project idea if somebody wants to work on it. So just pitching an idea doesn't mean you have to work on that idea. So I want to be really clear that it is possible, like if Adam pitches a project and Adam doesn't show up on that team, it's because Adam didn't want to be on that team. Okay. Now, if Adam pitches it and wants to be on that team, we'll probably put Adam on that team. But in the past, we have had people pitch a project and then not want to work on it. And then everybody else gets put on that team and they're like, wait, what happened to that person? They had all the ideas. It's like, no, this is just a pitch. It's up to the team on Monday to define what the project actually is. And so Monday is a whole day planning day of how do we brainstorm? How do we start building out a user board, like a project board with user stories and so on. And so this morning is just going to be pitching the ideas, and it's just a high level idea. Monday is going to be refining that idea. So the person pitching it doesn't necessarily have all the answers. And even if they work on that project, they're not in charge of the project. They just had the initial idea. It's up to the whole team to kind of rally around that idea and build that idea out even more. In the past, we've had these projects going to Code Fair. We've had them make it all the way to demo comp. We've had them actually end up in the top 3 projects at demo comp and win actual money. So these projects actually turn out really nice being on a slightly larger team. So think of what you can do as a solo person. You've been on projects with pair partners. You've been on projects with 3, 4 people. Imagine what you could do on a team of 7 or 8. You're going to come up with some pretty amazing stuff. So I'm always excited to hear what kind of projects you come up with. So if you got a project you want to pitch, go ahead and raise your hand and we will go in that order. And We are recording, so we can always come back and listen to the recording again. But who wants to kick it off with a project idea? All right, we're going to start with Joseph. Go ahead. So tell us. So what we want to hear here is like, do you have like a name for your project? What's the overall idea? What kind of API or APIs are you thinking about using? And then what kind of OAuth do you want to use? Like log in with Google or log in with Facebook or log in with Spotify, those kinds of things. So give us some ideas around that.
Yeah, I haven't come up with a name quite yet, but my idea behind it is like a location-based collaborative social media platform for artists. I did come up with a few APIs that would be great for it. I looked up the where are they here? So I think that Vimeo would be a great API to work with, along with SoundCloud, and the Google Places API. Those are just three that I found. The Vimeo one doesn't seem to have a lot of requests that you can do for free, but I think that it would be cool. You could have people set up like galleries, and like be able to build out like portfolios. You can find other artists in your area, regardless of whatever their medium may be, even like, so like with the SoundCloud API, you can have musicians putting their music on there, being able to collaborate with other musicians, or you can have visual artists importing things. I know musicians and some photographers and stuff that would definitely let us play around with that, so we could create profiles for them. Um, I think it could grow into something like really cool in the future, like even past Turing. I've been looking into the Unreal Engine. I think it would be cool to visit galleries in like a virtual reality setting or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I think that would be fun to work on.
Okay.
in the-
All right, sounds good. And then, so just as a tentative working title, we'll just call it like art location social platform or something like that. And then as far as OAuth goes, like if we were gonna like log in with a like an authentication service provider of some kind, like what kind of OAuth would you envision? Like log in with Google or log in with Facebook or log in with, something.
I think that logging in with, I think that logging in with Google would probably be a great place to start.
Okay.
Um, ideally, you could log in with Facebook as well. I think being
Well, the
able.
team's only gonna build one. Ideally,
Okay,
they're only gonna
I
build
think
one.
Google would be the most ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of the job that Alex and I will have is making sure that we're kind of reining you in on Monday and that you're not trying to like shoot for the moon when we're just trying to get you to cross the street. So we want to make sure that this is something that you can actually build as an MVP in 2 weeks' time. So that'll be our job on Monday, just making sure that you're not like trying to overbuild something or over engineer something. So cool. All right. Thank you, Joseph. Let's go on to Will next.
All right. My tentative working title, which I don't really like, is going to be Song Pair. And I guess the idea is based around the Spotify API. And so jumping right to the OAuth, I believe that would be what Spotify's calling the Spotify account service.
Okay.
So to get users actually engaged in the app, they'd need to authorize their actual Spotify account. And the main function I was thinking would be like if you and a friend are on the app, it'll tell you like songs that you both like. And as an extension of that, maybe you could also just do a personal dashboard with like stats on your genres and like what songs you listen to the most. And maybe that dashboard could include some stats between you and a friend. So that's what I got.
Okay. Awesome. So Song Pair, you said was the title?
Yeah.
Tentative working title. All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Will. All right. That's two. We need at least six. So even if your idea is like only half there, we still want to hear it. Let's go to Ben next.
Yeah, I'll try not to take too much time because
No, it's okay. We got
this is
plenty of time.
something that my dad has actually been working on for a very substantial amount of time, and thought this would be a great idea. So the working title of this, can you see the presentation?
Yep.
Cool. So the working title is called Level Up. And it's the brainchild of this company, the Civic Canopy. And the main rundown is that this game was developed over the last 2 years after the Civic Canopy realized that the policy agendas, new programs, and resource shifts many groups and organizations do not often result in the population level equitable results that they seek. And so the basics of the game are these objectives, understanding the key systems, all this stuff. But the center on it is you inherit the role of this character, and your job is to help the character advance through the game, and to help them win. And winning in this game means you improve your character well-being by getting the most wellness points possible over all the rounds of play. And so each of the rounds are almost like a month in your character's life. Your job is to help advance throughout the game to gain as many points as possible. And so it's just kind of a rundown of how there's some different levels of change that need to be recognized by many groups of people. And so at the low level, I thought about using, because at this point we've been making apps that are kind of static with pages and you go to other pages, but at this level, you need some kind of real-time data visualization of you charting how you are and compared to the other people that are also playing. And so looking into the Keen.io data visualization API, as well as hooking that in with ClusterWS webhooks in order to kind of populate this charting of real-time stuff. And this being kind of a hush-hush secret project that they've been working on over 2 years, I imagine that we don't want to push this kind of stuff up to any continuous integration or Heroku or anything like that. But I do think that once we have kind of a more finished product that is more not rough around the edges, I think Amazon Web Services would be a great platform to deploy this on, as well as using Google OAuth to kind of push that over to the side. And there's lots more that I could go into, but I don't want to take up lots of people's time. So
Ben, let's narrow this down. So they've been working on this for 2 years. We have a team of junior devs who are going to work on something for 2 weeks. So
yeah,
what portion of this would your team be working on over a 2-week period to still get something usable out there for users?
I think a really good place to start would be to have little game rooms that you could have an admin. So you have users and admins would be able to like set up these little game rooms and invite people to join their game, and they're given a little character or something. I think a good place to start would be being able to like create these little game rooms and have just kind of a basic implementation of the rounds of play and little points interacting with how the characters go about. I think that might be a reasonable place to start.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ben. Cool. Let's go on to Jordan next.
Ooh, that was awesome. I think all the blood just left my fingers. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Or actually, I'm going to hold on just a second. So before touring, I'd spend a lot of time digging through dusty crates and boxes full of records, kind of limited to Denver and garage sales around the area. And this app idea is going to basically allow people to easily fly through large catalogs of music all over the world or locally and generate just more commerce around vinyl and new music discovery. As far as the name and the tradition of like how DJing kind of usually works in pairs, coming from like dub or reggae into hip hop, there's usually the DJ who spins the record and messes with the media, and then there's like the selector. So selector is the name for this. It's basically the person who like chooses and finds the songs by digging through the crates, which kind of alludes to the idea. Our MVP here is going to use Discogs. If anybody is familiar with the site, they have massive databases of most records or media that's ever been put into publication. Occasionally, when digging for records, you'll find a cool thing that doesn't exist yet and get to add it to the collection, but it's a pretty dedicated community. It is extremely difficult, though, to dig through this stuff. Whereas in real life, you see a record you like, you go take it over to the machine, you got to play it. Anyway, there's a ton of time and efficiency you can cut down on by basically connecting two API here. One is Discogs, and then one is Spotify. And so now your browsing experience in Discogs can include a button that just quickly allows you to listen to a song. And that's just the MVP. Moving forward, you could easily add things like, okay, show me the closest dealer locally that I can go buy this vinyl from today in person, or set up an online thing if you want to buy bulk amount of records and save on shipping, because vinyl is really, really heavy. See if there's anything else I'm missing in here. Yeah, basically Discogs and Spotify, like I mentioned, are the two API. You would need for sure the OAuth on Spotify. Discogs also has authorization, which you'd only really need if you wanted to see your own personal user collection. Like for instance, I can go here and look at my collection, etc. And there's all kinds of different stuff in here. With that said, another thing that'd be cool to do potentially that I'd love to have for this summer, since I haven't seen a lot of my friends in person, going on some road trips maybe after touring, and being able to share a collective list of our user playlists, and then kind of just auto generate playlists made from that, or have a battle mode where you can choose from each other's friends crates or collections of music. Anyway, you can get pretty out there with it, but the basic idea is just being able to browse and listen to music as you browse.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah. Well,
all right, let's go to Trevor S.
Yeah, so my idea, which has the tentative name of Campfire, is to essentially take Tinder's platform and Facebook's platform and kind of amplify it into adding groups. So trying to find groups of people within your area, and also being able to take Facebook's platform and having some type of dashboard for you and your friends. So being able to do things like having board game logs and song lists, to-do lists, all types of different stuff. The idea is that it would be highly customizable by the user. And as far as my authorization, I'd be using Facebook. That is for OAuth, and some APIs that I were looking into, where there's an API called Board Game Atlas, which would be really, really awesome because it allows you to log games, find games, has game rules in there, game suggestions, all types of stuff like that. And it's a little bit of an open-ended idea, trying to utilize more of a platform of something like Facebook.
Okay. And remind me again what it was called. It was Campfire, you said?
Campfire, correct.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Trevor. All right. Let's go next to Kwa.
All right. It's just something I kind of think it might be cool, but I don't know if it's going to be on the legal side of it or not yet. So I'm sorry. I have, nope, never mind. That's not going to work with my thing. Let me shut this off. So it's called Stream Cache.
Okay.
The objective is to let users share like a password for a peer-to-peer streaming movies or anime or any type of movie international, and really to kind of capture a wider range of audience and let people watch, just kind of share their password. And we'll create like a cache or some type of a local login, and we'll destroy the cache within like a day, just like there's a time period of what we can allow. So we don't run too much into trouble with the law. The OAuth is going to be like the Google OAuth. I figure it's going to be like a kind of a wider, bigger platform that people can get into. And API is really just Netflix or any type of streaming websites that we want to get into, and that is also allowed by them. So I figure we're going to have to talk to them to kind of allow this service. But I know just a lot of people doesn't have access to this type of, cannot pay for it. So we can share with a friend, since it's already happening anyway, make it some type of a little bit more on the legal side if we can.
I would say that most of those streaming services will not cooperate with that because they want people to pay for it. That's how they run their business. It costs them money for bandwidth and things like that. So they're probably not going to play along. And there is kind of a gray area there around the legality of like sharing logins and so on. I know that Netflix is cracking down on that, but there are like Chrome extensions out there, for example, that once you're logged in with Netflix, it can actually take that cookie and like share that cookie with your friends so that they effectively are now logging in as you. I'm not sure like the logistics of how that happens or how that works, but if this project gets chosen, we might have to talk to Rachel Martinez, who's our legal counsel, around like the legality of letting students work on a project like this, because it is specifically circumventing the authentication of actually logging into a paid service. So there are free to stream sites, and I would say those might be the ones to target first, or maybe like collect like, hey, these are my favorite movies. Here's where to go watch them online, things like that. But strictly doing like Netflix and so on, that would probably not be allowed. But
I think that would be a great idea to kind of start out with something that is free, or at least point people. It's like, hey, if you want to watch this particular movie that is not on Netflix or anything like that, that is in my API database, then you can go specifically here to kind of register and whatnot.
Yep.
So.
Now, like Google, for example, if you say like where to watch something online or whatever, it'll typically say, you can watch that on Amazon Prime or Netflix, or this one's on Hulu, or this one's on HBO Max or whatever. So you can at least see like who streams it online. So that might be an interesting thing to kind of hook in there. Cool. Thanks, Kwa. Got a couple more come in. That's great. Let's go to Erica next.
So I just have like a really rough draft idea. I don't have a lot of things planned out about it, but I was thinking of like a Tinder for pets, where you could put in, like some basic preferences about gender, or age, and maybe breed. I can't decide if like we should do cats and dogs or just dogs or whatever. But then you'd be able to go back to all of the pets that I've never had my own Tinder, so I don't know which swipe is like for keeps, but the ones that you liked, you could like go back and reach out to the people who have the pet, and maybe there'd be fun facts about that type of animal, or things like that. That's what I've got.
Okay. What sort of APIs would we use for this, and what kind of OAuth do you think we'd use for this?
I'm not totally sure. I was kind of thinking Google for the OAuth, and I was just like browsing through some of the like pet animal related APIs, and I'm not entirely sure, to be honest.
Okay. Cool. And then do you have like a kind of a title for the project name?
No, I'm sorry. This is like super rough.
Tentatively, we'll call it Tinder Pets or something like that.
Cool.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Erica. Let's go to Angel next.
Yeah. So mine's a rough draft as well. I don't have a name either, but what it basically would do is you would create like a Christmas list or a birthday list or both. And then you can add friends, add family members as your friends. And once like your birthday comes around or Christmas comes around and your family members or friends ask what you want, you can simply just send them a link, or they could have a profile as well, and you could just view each other's lists, if that makes sense. And so that's really all I got.
So
and then for the OAuth would be
go ahead.
For the OAuth, I think it would be Google. And then does Amazon have an API?
That's a good question. They might, but there are lots of sort of like shopping APIs and things like that you could probably collect, like UPC codes or ISBN codes or things like that. So cool. I actually had an idea very similar to this about 2 decades ago that I built up, And the idea was that friends and family could log in and they could say, oh, Angel wants this sweater. I'm going to buy that sweater. So anybody else logging in can see that someone else has already sort of claimed that gift to purchase. But when you log in, you just have your list of things. You don't know that somebody actually bought that thing yet. But your friends and family can log in and they can see like who's buying what, so that you're not getting like 3 of the same thing. So that might be like a good constraint or something to add on there as well. Let's see, we need a project name for that. What do we want to call this one? Like wish list? Call it wish list for now. All right. All right, super. These are all great ideas. So anybody else? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 8 so far. This is fantastic. Who else has an idea? All right, Katie, what you got?
Okay, I'll throw it out there, but not fully fledged out yet.
Doesn't have to be.
So I have this idea that's kind of combining a couple of my passions that I've been thinking about for a while, and the app would be called Weathervine. It's where you would be able to, say, go to like a specific region, maybe using Google Maps, or finding a specific vineyard. And when you click on it, you can choose a specific style of wine from that vineyard and find out some historical weather information for that vintage that has somehow influenced or impacted the wine that you want to buy. So a couple things for authorization. For OAuth, I'm thinking Google. And I have the only APIs that I've really researched would be Wine Searcher and Noah's NSEP for maybe some historical information, but I haven't delved too deep into that.
Great. Someone in chat called it Carfax for wine, and I love that. Yeah, that sounds like a super cool like data project for sure. Awesome. Thanks, Katie. All right. Who else has ideas? All right, Jake, what you got?
This is an idea I've been kicking around with some friends for a little bit. It would be something along the lines of like Ski Pool or something like that. It's obviously a very Colorado-based app where you would have like a user profile and you can either be a driver or a passenger. And the idea is it's like a carpool app for trying to get up to the mountain to go skiing and snowboarding and come back. People can meet like at an RTD station. You can have a description of like the music you kind of want to listen to, the mountain you're trying, like you can input what mountains you have a pass to. That way you can get matched up with people. You can have like a start time and a leave time. You can definitely have like reviews for like, was this person a good passenger? Were their car like super dirty and disgusting? Do they have a ski rack? That kind of stuff. There's tons of APIs you could bring in. You would definitely use Google for authentication. You could consume like snow report apps to see where it's getting snow. You could bring in Google Maps, Google Weather, all that kind of good stuff. And hopefully you can get Vail Resorts to give you money to advertise on it.
Cool. Awesome. Someone suggested a title of Pow Pals.
Ooh, that's actually way better. Yeah, and then you could have like descriptions of like, yeah, there's some other things you can get into too with like trying to match up, because it could be like a 2-hour car ride, and if like you hate the person you're in the car ride with, like that can be kind of terrible. It's not quite a bus. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't leave them the review while you're driving up there. That could be bad.
Yeah.
Or they might like leave you stranded on the mountain. Awesome. Cool. Keep them coming. These are great ideas. Pro tip, be the driver so you don't get left there. That's good.
That is another concern too, though, because like if someone goes there and like they're like, we're gonna leave at 3, but then something happens and we bounce at like noon, and they just strand the people that drove up there, like there could be legal issues.
And they have to order the service again to get them back down the mountains.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, use Venmo for an API to do gas share, stuff like that would be pretty fun. Cool, cool. All right. Any last ideas? All right, we got one more. Trevor R, what you got?
I have an idea for I guess I don't know, food app of some sort. It's a recipe, I guess meal planning app, I guess would be the way to put it probably. Um, it's based around the idea that like a lot of times when you like plan meals for the week, either you're kind of ending up in this place where you maybe have to eat the same thing a few times in order to use up all the ingredients you buy or waste ingredients or whatever. So I thought the big cool idea of taking recipes and then basically taking them and then having it look for other recipes that had similar ingredients so that you would be using different recipes but with similar ingredients kind of automatically, and then create kind of a meal plan automatically from that based on me picking a couple recipes, and then it would give you the rest of your kind of weekly meal plan based on ingredients you'd have left over. And I was thinking APIs. There's several recipe APIs. I wasn't totally sure which one to use yet, but there are quite a few different ones for that. And then I was looking at maybe I was just starting to look into it, but maybe something like the Kroger API to maybe make it so you could also just put in a order for your grocery list.
Yep. Now, if you use the Kroger API, then you have to use Kroger's OAuth.
Okay.
So that's one consideration there. And so the user would have to have an account with Kroger. We actually had a student pitch an idea in the past and it didn't get built, but it used the Kroger API to go figure out based on a shopping list, which aisle the food was in to efficiently like get in, get your groceries, get out. And it was right at the start of the pandemic. And they're like, spend as little time as possible at the store, go to this aisle, go to this aisle, go to this aisle, GTFO kind of thing. And it actually never got built, and I kind of wish it had.
Cool.
That
But I did too. Yeah.
I tend to wander all the aisles, and then I walk out with a giant shopping cart full of stuff that I didn't need. But yeah, I like the idea of like efficiently using the ingredients. And there's some folks in the chat that love the idea too. So, do you have a project name for that one?
Nothing really beyond like meal plan. It was just a meal planning
Yeah.
app. I didn't have a specific name now.
Food Saver. Yeah, Food Saver is a good one.
Yeah, that
Might
looks
be
that's good.
might run into a trademark name with the vacuum sealer on that one, but cool. I like it. All right, let's go to Alexa for an idea. What you got?
Okay, so I kind of came up with this idea from listening to everyone else's ideas,
Perfect.
but something that would make my life a lot better because I live in a city with a dog is if I could find a backyard to rent. So I'm thinking kind of like Airbnb, but for backyard rentals, like whether it's for 2 hours in the evening or you want to host a party with your friends, like a campfire with your friends, especially in COVID times, might be useful. But I don't have a name, and I'm thinking some sort of Google Maps API. And for OAuth, I would choose Google, but I think Instagram would probably be helpful for photos of your dog to prove you have a dog and you're not just a Dexter type person coming to someone's backyard. So yep, that's that.
Cool, cool. All right. Let's see, what would we call it? Yard sourcing. I like that one. How's that sound, Alexa? All right, yard sourcing.
Sounds good.
Awesome. These are great ideas. Anybody else? It's going way faster than it has in the past. Going once. There we go. Jordan, what you got?
Can I go a second time, I
Yeah,
guess?
absolutely.
Cool. I guess this other idea is when I was thinking about that'd be kind of helpful at Turing and like lots of other places now that people are doing a lot of video calls and stuff, but using the Zoom API to, and I think there's a way to do this. I've been looking into it, where you can get the basically call records and figure out who's been talking how much for a given meeting or something like that. And then afterward, you get a post call report analysis that gives you visual data representing who's been talking, et cetera. There's a lot of different directions you can go with that. But one of the cool things that you could also do that with that, that Ian was actually mentioning is possibly creating an attendant and like automated attendance sort of thing in there as well. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess that's pretty straightforward, pretty simple idea, but that's another one maybe we could add there.
Cool. No, we wouldn't ever publicly shame a mic hog. Otherwise, you'd be shaming me every time we're on a call. Yeah, cool. It's I mean, tentatively we'll call it like Zoom stats, but yeah, the Zoom API actually has a lot of really interesting information. Turing was actually evaluating a project called I think it was like Zoom for School or something like that, and it was like a whole bunch of like school themed things around Zoom, and it was basically just all built on the Zoom API. And it was effectively going to replace this version of Zoom, where it was more like classroom setting, and as instructors we could see more engagement of people in the class and things like that. But it was also going to like pull stats of like, you know, who talked and who raised their hand and who didn't and things like that, so that we could actually build up some statistics around that. Me personally, I would just love an easier way to take attendance. But you know, there are ways around some of that, but cool. But yeah, there's a lot of really interesting information available through the Zoom API. Cool. Thanks, Jordan. Let's go to Will.
Yeah, just gonna throw this out. This is an idea I never really looked more into, but a bunch of my friends play Dungeons and Dragons, and I was talking to my friend about maybe making some sort of app where your friends who aren't playing the game with you can like have a voice in what happens to your characters. Like maybe they get to pick the next creature you run into or something like that. So I don't really play. I don't really know how it works, but just throwing it out there if anyone's interested in that.
Cool. Any idea around like APIs and things like that? I think there is like some kind of D&D API. I think front end student team actually built something last inning where they were like scraping a bunch of like monster stats. So you could go in and you could actually like click on a monster and see all the stats about that monster and things like that. So I think that some kind of D&D API already exists for that. What about OAuth, Will?
That's a great question. I'm not sure about that. And I had the same idea for API would be like creatures,
Yep.
presumably. I know my buddy was working on something where he builds them procedurally, but that would be kind of a separate project.
Yeah. Let's see, what would we call this? Plus 30 votes for deck of many things. That deck of many things is a dangerous deck of cards. What would we call this? Let's call it like D20 influencer or something like that. I don't know. It's coming up with names here. Cool. Let's go to Harrison next.
This idea I also came up with while everyone else was speaking, but it sort of comes out of like a realization I've had over the past 2 years as like I've gotten more and more into like political hobbyism. I think like voter turnout is a really big issue, especially with local elections. It's like national average is like 20% for local elections. So maybe I was thinking like steal the viewing party idea, but instead of viewing parties for movies, it would like find local elections, or you would have friends and it would show like, hey, this local election is coming up and I'm going to it. And then you would also be like, hey, join it. Like you can join this local election. Sorry about the sirens.
That's
my
okay.
windows open because it's really hot. So that's it's not fully fleshed out, but there would also be I know there's other data. I was looking at a Google Civics API, and I know the ProPublica one is one we've used. And I guess if I'm going with Google Civics API, something like the Google OAuth for authentication.
Yeah.
That's all I got right now.
Cool. What do we call this one?
I don't have a name.
I like Hope's comment there. The sirens are coming for you because you're expressing good ideas. What do we call it? Fix Georgia? I don't know.
Fix Georgia. Yeah, I like it because honestly, it started with
Or just get out the vote. How's that?
get out the vote. That's cool.
I'm pretty sure that was trademarked by someone else, but we'll go with it for now. Cool. It's a good idea, Harrison. Thanks. Building like real world kinds of things, especially around civic tech, is really, really awesome. All right, let's go back to Kwa. What you got?
So my next one is iCamp, and I got because camping got really popular since the pandemic, and there's a lot of places where I like to leave reviews or I have to register. I think an app where we can share and update all the parks that we go to, pet pictures, leaves reviews on it, and also kind of have a link to register a place there, or I think something like that would be kind of cool because I know quite a bit of my friends are like, where we should go, you know, what is your experience in certain place? So a place where everyone can kind of round up for that would be cool.
Cool.
I might be working on that myself anyway, but hey.
Okay. Maybe look at Google Maps, and I'm certain that there are like camping APIs or park APIs and so on to use there. What do you think for OAuth?
It's probably going to be like a Google OAuth since
Google?
it's just to make it more widely available for people.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks, Kwa. All right, Tommy, what you got?
Yeah, so this is a idea that I got in the last like 2 minutes. But this past year, my partner and I have discovered that with the quarantine and all that, it's kind of tough to get a idea of like what to do when like we're out. So maybe like an app that takes in like a API that can involves like the temperature. What else could it involve? Just like could you input info like per params, and then it would output you ideas for like things that you could do.
Cool.
APIs, like if it's April through October and the like Rockies are in town, it could say like, hey, like you could go here, or a perimeter. It could also just be if like you want to bring like your pet, like what it could be. OAuth, maybe Google. I don't know other APIs that we could involve, but I think that there's probably a decent amount of them there.
Yeah. I think Yelp, I think the Yelp API will actually tell you if a business is pet friendly. So if that was a preference that you're setting or something like that, then you might be able to narrow it down based on their API, like go find all the pet friendly places, you know, around this neighborhood or something like that. Yeah, that's a cool idea. What would we call this project?
I'm gonna look in the chat. We'll see what people have. Maybe like get your Rockies off. No, I don't know. Let's keep it open, I think, and maybe it will just come to us.
Tentatively, we'll call it Activity Finder.
Sure.
All right, cool. All right, great job, Tommy. Thank you. Last call, because we got a lot of projects here. It's going to be really tough to pick from this many. This is, I think this is the most projects we've actually had from a cohort doing this. So these are all really great ideas. The last call. We'll wrap up from here. Yeah, 2011 for the win for sure. All right, I think we'll wrap it up here. Alex, how many projects do we get on here? 4, 5, 6.
I'm at 17 projects.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really great. All right, so we're gonna take a palm break. When we come back, so let's do like a 10-minute palm break. When we come back, we're gonna drop the survey link in your channel, and we want you to kind of go back through the Google Doc, and we'll give you some time to do this. Like we'll give you like a good amount of time. Maybe we'll leave the Zoom call open, and if folks have questions about projects or whatever, we'll kind of like leave it open for Q&A. If you've got like refining questions or refining ideas, we can add that into the Google Doc as well. But what we want by like 10:30-ish is what are our top like 6 projects? So that we can kind of like narrow down from there. So then the next round of voting is like, now that we have our top 6, what are your top 3 choices of those top 6? And so we'll start with a 10-minute palm break. We'll come back. Actually, let's just come back right on the hour. So we'll come back right on the hour, and then we'll kind of like open it up for Q&A, and we'll get that survey ready for you. All right, so we'll see you back in like 11 minutes or so. Resume, there we go. So over the break, we had 2 more project ideas come in. So Doug actually connected via phone. So Doug, drive safe. Also had kind of a D&D related project idea. So I added his as a note under Will's. Basically Doug's idea was like a, like a help the game master sort of plan out the world with like non-player characters, shops and cities and things like that to more easily recall information about the things that they've made. So I added that because I think that could get combined with Will's idea. And then we had one other one come in as well.
Yeah, Hope, do you want to share
Yep.
your idea?
Yeah, what you got, Hope?
So I didn't have a name for it, but right before the break, I just kind of crystallized an idea that was an app that helps the user learn about and prepare for mountain trips. So you could use this for like sightseeing or mountain climbing or hiking or rock climbing, where it can explain what you might need on that trip and advise on the weather, maybe whether it's a good idea to go or not, or extra things you might need to be safe because of it. Could suggest an amount of people needed. Like if you're going rock climbing, you might want extra people around to stay safe. It can show how popular the mountain is, kind of with that geotagging idea I had from using Instagram service. Cool. Or it could even have like a Yahoo Answers type thing where people can ask about any topic related to mountains or activities on them, or give tips to those who are starting out, or suggest good starter mountains. And also this was a suggestion from another person, but it being able to email your trip details to other people for safety reasons.
Awesome. Cool. Any ideas around APIs or OAuth, Hope?
I was thinking Instagram, or I guess you could do Facebook since those are connected.
Mm-hmm.
I don't personally have a Facebook, but I can figure it out.
And there are some like hiking APIs and so on. Some of the more popular ones have actually been shut down over the past year. But there are like hiking APIs and things like that that you could look into. Any thoughts on a project name?
How about peak performance?
Performance. That's cool. All right. Cool. Well, thanks, everyone. So what we're going to do is we'll give you some time. Stay on the Zoom call. If you've got questions about projects, we'll go ahead and we'll like take questions. Kyle, I saw your hand up. Do you have a project idea or do you have a question about something?
Yeah, I have a loose project pitch. If you're down to let me present it.
Sure.
Essentially, it would be like a food allocation app. And so like during the pandemic, there were a lot of like mutual aid networks set up that would sort of consolidate food, and then people would sort of volunteer to like deliver food to people that needed it, that had like comorbidities or like compromised immune systems, so they didn't have to like go to the grocery stores and do that stuff. So it'd kind of be like, I guess there'd be like a delivery driver and then a person making a request. And they would sort of like request different food items, and then it would sort of like route that person to their home. Probably use some sort of Google OAuth authentication.
Any thoughts on APIs? Like we'd probably need like maps, like the directions API maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay. What about a working title for that one?
Mutual aid food delivery.
What was it? Mutual
aid.
Mutual aid. Okay.
Food delivery or something like that.
Okay. All right, cool. So we'll get that added into the survey, and then Alex, if you can drop that survey in their channel, we'll open it up for questions. So if you've got a question about a particular project, then we'll get those rolling here as well. Again, these don't have to be like fully flushed out ideas, but if you've got like other little notes, I'll go in and I'll add those to the Google Doc, and those can be consideration then, you know, as you vote later on, as well as, you know, looking through APIs over the weekend, because for the weekend, you'll know the top project choices. You just won't know which project team you're going to be on. So we'll kind of highlight like, you know, what the final 4 projects are going to be out of these. But if you've got questions or other ideas that can kind of get added to the Google Doc, let's open that up now. And then if you just want to go ahead and vote, you can go ahead and vote. Cool. Anybody have questions or thoughts, input on any of the projects so far? Cool. Thanks, Alex. So Alex put the survey in your in the main 2011 backend channel. If you've got all the info you need, you can go ahead and vote. But if you've got questions or like refinement of ideas based on other pitches that you've heard, feel free to chat. Just go ahead and unmute and go from there. Or if you want to DM me questions, I'm happy to kind of relay those on your behalf if you like. If there are no questions, that's okay too. If there are no questions, we'll just let you go ahead and vote. And then we'll let you get back to project work. So again, just to reiterate, for this first survey, we want you to help us pick our top 6 projects. So these are just, it's like the, you know, which of these do you think are the best project ideas? We'll go through and we're going to score them and rank them. And then around lunchtime, we're going to say, okay, of these top 6, what 3 projects do you want to work on? And then we'll score those and build up the teams.
I think the survey has top 5.
Oh, it is top 5. My apologies. Well, it's asking them for the top 5. We'll give them the top 6 based on.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And for a moment of levity, today is Dog Farting Awareness Day. Apparently somebody decided that should be a holiday. So keep it down over there, Riker. Or Baxter. All right, about half the class has voted so far, so that's great. If you voted, feel free to hop off the Zoom call and enjoy your morning of project time.
Thank you, Ian.
All right, thanks, Kwa.
Thank you, Ian.
All right, Jesus. Catch you later.